Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter Returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of the 31st of May to the 6th of June 2021. I hope you're all well. You're probably out as I record this enjoying the sunshine. I hope you are. Let me just bring us into just a very brief recap of what we've moved into in the last few days, as just to sort of give us the background for the week that we're moving into. So, of course, we've had Mercury turning retrograde, sorry. So that's the usual kinds of issues of needing to go back into something in order to refine it, to rework it, to have a rethink over it. The usual kinds of communication issues that can crop up. Possibly a little bit more potent than usual. Certainly I'm experiencing them in that way due to the square aspect to Neptune, which I will talk a little bit more about. The real sort of depth of what we're moving through, though, is this: we find ourselves in this portal, the 2-week, 14-day space between our eclipses. So we had our full moon eclipse in Sagittarius. Then we have a 2-week period of moving past all of these planets until we get to the new moon eclipse in Gemini. And so the point that we find ourselves on that journey today, Monday, the 31st of May, we now have the moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius is helping us to use our intellect, essentially. This is an air sign, and it's a very kind of rational, emotionally detached air sign. So it's really helping us just to kind of tune in with our level of brainwave activity in a way. And this is really important because, you know, the connection that's being made between this sign and fellow air sign Gemini, which is about, essentially, it's almost like, you know, this is our computer. If we were computers, this is kind of like the circuitry and the wires and all of the things that make that function. And so we want to get the right software running on that computer system. You know, there's nothing wrong. You know, the computer system will do whatever, you know, it's being told to do, whatever it's been informed to do. And that's where these air signs come in. It's all about information, understanding, consciousness. So with the moon over here, it's helping us to be quite rational, emotionally detached, and just sort of detach from whatever has been playing out, which may have been a little bit tense as the moon went past Pluto in Capricorn and then past Saturn. So a little bit of a breather, essentially, for our emotions. This is pulling us also into the Mercury retrograde because of that trine aspect that she's making to fellow air sign Gemini. The moon is going to be creating today this easy, unhindered connection with the Mercury retrograde. So this is really starting to get us involved in the inner process of just working things out. And this is essentially what the Mercury retrograde is all about. It's like saying, I've gone over a part of the chart, so it's activated a part of your life. And then it's saying, no, I need to return back into this space and change something, to rework it, to rethink it, to reorder it. There's something there that's not quite right. So we need to look at it from a different angle. And with the Aquarian vibration there, Aquarius is all about how we're progressing. It's all about being progressive. It's also about what's unique to you. So it's thinking about things in a way that's unconditioned, all right? Passing that Saturn retrograde, it was kind of like dipping us back into where we've been confined by our conditioning. And now we get the opportunity to break free from that, or establish where we might need to, so that we can progress forward. And that progression forward is really important today, because also occurring today, Monday, the 31st of May, is that we have the sun meeting up with the lunar north node of destiny. So once more activating the axis, the south node, north node axis between Gemini and Sagittarius, and just saying, this is where our light needs to be shining right now. This is where we need to be focusing our attention. All right, the sun is at the center of the solar system. Everything kind of needs to be looking at, facing the sun at all times. It draws you into itself. So where the sun is going, it's saying, be drawn into this. So it's saying we need to be drawn towards the future, where we're going, and how what we've achieved in the past, the experiences that we've had, how are they going to help us achieve moving into that? So some fantastic energy today between these air signs of really getting to grips with, this deep, important phase of the space between the eclipses, just to get focused. Like, what are we doing? Where are we going? What's this all about? And lots of support for that process in coming days. So then as we move into Tuesday, the 1st of June brings us quite a change, because what we have happening then is, as the sun starts to pull away ever so slightly from the north node, but it's still going to be quite active for a few days, the moon is then going to move into the sign of Pisces. So it's going to be lining up with Jupiter. The moon moving into Pisces is quite a marked difference between the emotional detachment and rationality and kind of coldness of Aquarius. It's in stark contrast to the very deeply sensitive feeling nature of Pisces. So this is where the boundaries of the Saturnian realm, both Capricorn and Aquarius, are ruled by Saturn. So having gone through 2 Saturnian signs, which are about, independence, isolation, and coldness, detachment, we then wash up on the shores of Pisces, which is quite the opposite. Pisces is about how we connect, how we merge, and the boundaries are dissolved here. So the boundaries that are being dissolved is the boundaries that we've put up to our feelings, our sensitivities, our emotions. All right. So we return back into our feeling nature as we go into Tuesday. This is the immediate connection. Jupiter's still at 1 degree of Pisces. So the connection that the moon makes immediately is this conjunction with Jupiter. A moon conjunct Jupiter is lovely energy. It's very warm, it's very generous, it's kind, it's giving, it's quite selfless energy that just essentially like, if someone was born with this, they tend to be very appealing to people, because they have this understanding. They seem to have an innate understanding of other people, particularly here in Pisces. The empathy is magnified. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So emotional empathy is expanded. And if that wasn't enough on its own to facilitate that, it's actually starting to build us into a connection that is being made with Venus as well. So as the days roll on, there's a building or applying trine aspect between Jupiter and Venus. So I'll talk about that later in the week, but the moon is going to tune our feelings into that vibration. And that's a beautiful vibration to be tuned into, let me tell you. This is the 2 benefics of the sky. Venus is love, beauty, pleasure, sweetness, and she's now in her evening star formation, so she is in the love goddess part of her cycle. And then we have Jupiter domiciled in Pisces, giving us some real welly in terms of what Jupiter can bring, is just expanding that and creating a greater sense of affinity with it, but also a greater sense of collaboration, feeling that other people around us are on this same wavelength of love and peace and happiness. You know, happiness. There's been such a dearth of happiness of late. So the energy that's building throughout the week here, it's going to be beautiful. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer to it. Again, it's assisting us getting out of the mind, out of the mental sphere and back into our feelings, and then allowing that, if we connect with those feelings, allowing that to sink right down into this rewiring process that we're going through with the Mercury retrograde. So moving then into Wednesday, there's a kind of a shift really, and this is a really big day. Wednesday this week, it's a key day. Moon will have moved on a little bit from Jupiter by this point, and what she's doing at this point in her cycle is Pisces being a mutable sign, Gemini being a mutable sign. Essentially, this is creating the square aspect. And this, of course, is the last quarter square of the current moon cycle. So this is the what we talk about as the crisis of integration. And this is a very powerful point at this point, because it is the exact midpoint between the full moon and the coming new moon eclipse. So it's the halfway process of the process we're moving through this portal. And it's a challenge, it's a provocation, it's a call to action, all right? Not the full moon. Full moon is not time to take action. New moon, not the time to take action. The square aspect is that motivating energy that says, now you've got to do something. Now I'm going to stimulate you into doing something. So if we've been working with that first 7 day, that first week since the eclipse, we would have been really just chewing over what arose, what came up, what happened in my life in the days and possibly even weeks surrounding the eclipse. Chewing it over, thinking about it from different sides, building in the influences of Pluto and Saturn and Uranus over here, as the moon's gone past them, and giving us that chance to really sort of just be patient and slow and inner in terms of digesting what just happened. Like, let's just really just be present with it for a little while. But this is the point, this is the demarcation point that says, okay, enough of that now. We've been shown what we needed to see. We've been given a period of time now to have a look at that, inspect that, decide what are the parts of that we feel are something that we need to carry with us as we move forwards, and what are the bits that actually we've identified now really ought to stay behind. They don't come with us. What's the baggage we're going to drop off? And this is that deciding point that's a test that says, okay, we're coming into a new moon in 7 days' time. We're going to make some space. We're going to make some internal space for something new to find us, something improved, something better, more in alignment with our destiny. So this is the point where you're challenged. Are you really going to deeply integrate the lessons that you've been shown to the point where you are capable of making a sacrifice, of leaving something behind, of cutting a cord. This last 7 days, the final 7 days of the moon cycle, this, and I would say only this, but that's my belief, you must come to your own. This is when we do the release work, okay? This is where the moon's really, really shrinking down, and she's assisting to take away what is no longer useful for us on our journey. So we offer up to the moon at this time our intention to, no matter how hard it might feel to make that change, which is, you know, the crisis point here, no matter how difficult that feels and what changes need to take place within our inner and outer world, this is the time. The gauntlet is thrown at our feet and it's time to prove it. Are you going to make the shift? Now, that's great because you're watching an astrology video. I'm hopeful that that means that you're doing some work on self-development and understanding yourself and how you connect to the process of your life. The vast majority of people out there probably aren't doing that, or certainly not to this extent. So this provocative, irritating energy that is kind of pushing people's buttons, that's kind of what it's meant to do, will be channeled in a variety of different ways. And there's a lot about that that's going to be subconscious, and this will make sense as we go through each day. A lot of that is going to be subconscious, and it's going to be about meeting either survival needs or just need for pleasure, need for enjoyment, but all quite sort of short-term stuff, really, fleeting stuff, fickle stuff, you could say. And I think that that's going to be a little bit of a missed opportunity for people to really engage with the supportive influences that are going to be present for us to really get a big piece of work done and really make a big shift inside. So watch out for behaviors in those around us that are stimulating people just to engage in whatever gives them a very immediate hit of pleasure, and what may involve kind of the shadow sides of some of the personal planets like Mars and Venus. What do I want? You know, what do I want? What do I want right now? What am I feeling like right now? And just giving into that desire nature. Yeah, so that's probably enough said about that. So a couple of questions. Are you willing to let go and trust your intuition as it pulls you into your destiny? Okay, Pisces is all about letting go and letting God, and having the moon just meet up with Jupiter, which has a very strong connotation with the divine. You know, it's this realm where we lose the ego. All right. Pisces is the most spiritually evolved, so it's egoless. So this is where we want to just kind of lose the ego drives and just submit, just surrender ourselves to our feeling nature, but only when that's the higher intuition, which obviously the moon represents our, you know, the feeling we get in our waters, used to be what people would say. That's essentially the sensitivity, the empathy, and the picking up on that vibration, the undercurrent of the vibration from source. Pisces is where we connect with source most readily. So are you willing now to let go and to trust your intuition as it pulls you into your destiny? Sun with the North Node there. Is that intuition actually your connection to source? That's a really, really great question. There's so many theories and ideas out there about how to connect to source, what even is source. I mean, that's the topic of many a war that still gets fought today. You know, what actually is source energy, creator energy. And is intuition the way that we tap into that? Or is it a part of that that has been planted within us as we have this human experience to remind us to be higher beings when we connect with it, which we don't often do. So into the early hours of Thursday morning, overnight, the moon is actually then going to meet up with Pisces' other ruler, Neptune. And this is, you know, it's going to be a powerful, powerful night, Wednesday night. So dreams are very, very likely going to be quite prophetic in nature. And they're also going to be a part of the processing that's being done as we move what's going on in our heads deeper, deeper, deeper into our consciousness. So what we have going on then is we have the moon meeting up with Neptune, and they are together squaring Mercury in retrograde. All right. So this is how we're rewriting the story. What story is being rewritten here? This at the same time it's really beautiful, is trining Mars. All right, so two really major aspects playing out at the same time. And Mars is our motivation, it's our drive, it's, you know, what we want to go after. So this simultaneous deepening our connection into our intuition in order to have that rewrite the story, or at least, at the very least, wash away whatever we feel might be inhibiting that process, okay? Because that's what we can use Neptune for. Just imagine it's the sea lapping away, gently, gently softening and changing the landscape. Imagine, you know, your storyline is a beach, and the sea is just gently lapping away and just saying, yeah, we're just gently changing this. And the first part of change is identifying what needs to be changed. That's the whole purpose of a Mercury retrograde. It's like, oh, let's go back. Let's have another look at this from a different angle and see what needs to be changed. So what are your old storylines? What are the old internal wiring, you know, the neural pathways that have been connected? You know, Mercury is all about navigation, and these neural pathways that are connected and developed and deepened through our lives, through the way that our brains interpret information and then kind of move that into behavior, how we act in the world. Those deep, deep connections there, that's our internal wiring structure. The software program that we're running, that's largely someone else's storyline, you know, it's conditioning. It's what are the ideas that we have allowed to develop those neural pathways without consciously engaging in the process ourselves, or even without even giving it any consideration at all. And I would tell you the vast majority of the neural connections that have been made are of that kind. And repeating themes, circles. How many times are we going to go around the same circle and see these repeating patterns showing up again and again and again before we say, enough, I'm tired of that? You know, that will keep showing up in your life until you are genuinely 100% done with it. When you're really tired with it, you'll know. And that's the stuff that's going to feed in via this trine aspect to Mars to make me say, yeah, this is the way that I'm going to go forwards in, for now, just rewriting this story and cord cutting Mars, or burning. You know, Mars is heat and sharp things, and it's speed So it's slashing through those old connections and saying, yeah, that's not actually serving me. It was never mine. I'm done with going around in that loop, and I'd like to create a new one now. So that sounds quite brutal, actually, and obviously there's absolutely no brutality really with the peace-loving Pisces. But you know, there's power in peace as well. So it's just being very decisive, I suppose. That would be a better way to talk about it. Just making a very decisive separation. But it's essentially saying I'm releasing myself from something with love and with kindness and with empathy and gratitude for whatever that has shown me, whatever ways that's irritated me into doing my self-work and making the improvements in my life. How can we not be grateful for being encouraged to learn a really important lesson that ultimately takes us into being better people? And everything, unpleasant or not, everything that's brought you to this place in the here and now has played that part. So we release it with love, we release it with gratitude, and a real understanding and appreciation for what it's brought to us, as we still strongly say, it's not going to go forward with us though. This is what stays behind. All right. We are now in the release phase of the eclipse portal. Okay. And this starts it off, I feel, just absolutely beautifully. I'm going to elevate now into far greater possibility than previously I could have ever imagined. I'm going to open myself up to so much more than I've ever felt that I could ever achieve at any point previously in my life, because of limiting beliefs. Let's say, you know, this was a Sagittarius full moon, and that's all about our beliefs. So now what we're doing is we're picking apart that grand belief, that philosophy, and saying, where did that come from? What are the little building blocks and pieces of data and information that belief has been formed from? Okay, so where we encounter these limits, where these beliefs have been limiting, this is what we're releasing ourselves from now. So then as we move into Thursday, let's just clear the board up. Beautiful assistance in this process. We have a trine aspect on Thursday from the Sun in Gemini to Saturn in fellow air sign Aquarius. This is taking place at 13 degrees of those signs. So it will also, if you've got planets around 13 degrees of Libra as well, that's going to be really helpfully pulled into this too. This really helps to strengthen our resolve, all right? Really make us feel stronger and more resilient. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to nail it this time. You know, this, whatever I've set my sights on, my attention, my focus on, the connection here to Saturn is really going to say, yeah, okay, we've got that. We're going to be really focused, really dedicated and committed to achieving that goal. And that goal is about who you are becoming. The Sun is the core essence of you. So it's a time to just, yeah, really feel how strongly committed and dedicated you are to yourself going forwards, and maintaining healthy boundaries to anything that tries to invade into, you know, stopping that process. Essentially, anything that gets in the way of you feeling good to be you. Okay. So strengthens our resolve to make lasting change to our core self. Lasting change is Saturn. And again, Saturn's in retrograde right now. So it's saying, yeah, this is an adjustment that's being made to the real foundations, the real deep stuff that's possibly been there for a very, very long time. It can be difficult because that stuff that's been created to try and support you. But yeah, it's kind of saying, all right, now it's the time where you become the boss. All right. So you shine the light in on this and say, okay, something needs to be adjusted here. And I am going to consciously engage in the process of adjusting and shifting and changing my underpinning. Saturn is like the underpinning where myself has been eroded or subsidence. Underpinning is literally put under buildings when they're subsiding, when they're crumbling and falling into the ground because they can't hold themselves up anymore. Saturn is our underpinning. So we get the chance now to go back into the ground, into our foundations, our personal foundations, and say, yes, I'm going to strengthen this up, but it's going to be the way I decide now, and it's going to be what strengthens me. What's really going to be helpful alongside of this is that the moon will move into Aries. So this is very cardinal energy. It's going to tap us into the self even more, but it's a real kind of fired up energy. It's juiced up energy that's really on a mission to make something happen. So if you can pull that energy into this stuff, then that's really helpful. Really helpful. It's warrior energy. It's motivated energy. So yeah, it really is pulling your emotions into doing this work. We also have now, as I mentioned earlier on in the week, we have the applying Venus, Jupiter trine coming up as well. That's just a gorgeous backdrop for this work, is it not? So what's my self-worth? What are my personal values, and how do I apply them to myself? What are the stories I've been told or keep telling myself via the actions that I take out in the world? All right, Aries energy is what I do. Okay, it's that very expressive energy, the masculine Martian impulse to make something happen. All right, so how am I making my my core values? How do they inform, the way that I live my life and the way I behave and the way I show up? All right, and then it's asking us to then tune that into a higher wisdom, Jupiter, and expand our sense of self-love, our sense of value, and let that be the guiding light to how we reaffirm our sense of self through the Sun Saturn trine there. Just absolutely beautiful energies, and really allowing this very heart-filling energy of warmth and heaven, divinity, just really connecting with that and imagining that you're allowing it to seep down into your foundations. Make this the core part of how you shore up yourself going forward and move into your future from a place of love, Venus, and wisdom, Jupiter. That's going to perfect this trine aspect here, is going to perfect overnight and will carry through into Friday as well. So we'll still be, within this kind of vibration on Friday. Creating a future for yourself that's aligned with your bliss, that's aligned with your heart, that's aligned with all that you can be when you truly decide. That's Gemini, making a decision, making a choice. When you decide that love for yourself and high self-esteem is going to be the story that you now run, in whatever way that makes sense to you. Okay, so again, where this Martian Aries energy is also again helping us cut the cords to whatever it is as we're deepening into the release phase of the cycle, cutting the cords to the things that may have impeded that in the past. So as we move into Friday the 4th, of course, is Venus's day. So that's really going to help keep the Venus-Jupiter beauty so profoundly felt. And so many people are going to be feeling this. It's just gorgeous energy. Bask in the bliss bubble and let it sink deep, nourishing your soul and the collective soul. This is Neptune. As we all, Jupiter Pisces, as we all align our hearts to expanding soul and love. This is what this connection is saying. As we move about our neighborhood, as we engage in some social activity that we haven't had for a very long time, these are Gemini themes. Can we carry this beautiful vibration with us and allow that to communicate, Gemini, with the people that we come into contact with? Can our love and wisdom encourage this feeling of love and wisdom wherever we go and in the people that we interact with? Really, really beautiful day to spend with friends, to come together in a vibration where people can celebrate those aspects of themselves. And, this is supported by the group and by sociability. Pisces is dissolving the boundaries between people, and just helping people to align with each other. And the group, anything done in a group elevates that vibration so much. If you think of a group meditation, if you put 5 people individually in separate rooms, all meditating on the same thing, you would achieve a lot less from that vibration than if those 5 people all came together and sat together and meditated on the same thing. That's the amplifying effect that, Jupiter is all about. So coming together with friends to generate this higher manifestation of love and wisdom, and that being part of the collective as well as just ourselves. The moon in Aries now, she's going to meet up with wounded healer Chiron, and this is just, again, really, really gorgeous energy. What we have going on is this is going to show us and continue the work that we've been doing with the Sun and Saturn. Okay, because what's going to happen here is we will have these sextiles going on as the Sun moves into trine Saturn, or is still with that connection to Saturn. The moon is going to create this minor grand trine aspect pattern, it's called, but it's not particularly important. Essentially what this is doing is it's saying, if we can just put in a little bit of effort and guide this energy, if we can just involve our consciousness in how we channel this, there is a massive amount of healing potential here. This strengthening our resolve, the underpinning of the self, this work that we're doing as the Sun and the Saturn speak to each other so easily, is really pouring into Chiron, into that core wound of, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, other people won't like me, I'll be rejected, I've been abandoned. All of that kind of the bit of a pity party that Chiron can have, as it tends to, whenever Chiron gets activated, it takes us back into some pretty profound wounding that we all carry with us throughout life. And to some extent or another, that shapes who we are and the life story that we create. So the more we can engage with that and do healing work around that, the more we're taking control. You know, the more we are taking the reins of our life and having a say on what happens, rather than our fear and pain ruling the show for us. So feeling yourself being strengthened by the love and wisdom that is in abundance right now, and allowing that to go to sink into these old wounds and really give them some softening and healing. Absolutely fantastic energy, especially in between two eclipses. I mean, it's as powerful as it gets. You know, Jupiter is said to bring us opportunities. That's what it does. It opens doors for us. So don't miss this opportunity. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. A great day for engaging in any kind of healing. All right, whatever healing you want to do it on like Thursday, but especially Friday. It's going to be really, really, it's going to get to the places that it needs to go to, essentially. Yeah, healing, strengthening, vitalizing energy of light, the sun, daylight. How much better do we all feel when the sun is shining? That's the power that light has. And you're allowing that light, all of the potential that that light has, to sink deep into you and do some of this healing work. I mean, light itself, all of the different kinds of light are all used in different healing modalities. You know, we can use certain frequencies of light to literally disinfect things, you know, and to encourage the cells to take in more oxygen. And it's just, daylight is just so good for healing. So make the connection. You won't regret it. Saturday, then, as we come into Saturday, Saturn's Day, this is where we come into the second square aspect that's taking place between Mercury and Neptune. So let me pop the square aspect back up here. All right, so mutable signs, Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, Mercury in its home sign of Gemini, both very, very powerfully placed. And it's this aspect to Neptune that really is defining this particular Mercury retrograde. This aspect goes perfect 3 times in total, and this is the middle one. So not only are we in the middle of the 2 eclipses, we're on the middle, the second Mercury-Neptune square, Mercury being the ruler of the coming eclipse as well. So really, really important part of the story that's happening right now. So the first time this this connection went exact was May the 23rd. That was just as Saturn was stationing retrograde the previous weekend, last weekend. So what were the themes that came up then? What was happening as we were pulling into that first eclipse? They are the things that are now gonna ask to be gone back over. So essentially it would have stirred some things up to the surface, all right? Churned some things up. And this is where we go back over those things to sort them out. All right, so this is where we do our work. And Saturday is the day that's actually a really great day for doing your work. All right, for doing discipline, doing things that involve making some kind of sacrifice of pleasure, because that's what discipline's all about. This is confusion. All right, so confusion here, where Mercury wants precision and clarity and Neptune blurs everything. This is where confusion is going to be asked to be cleared up. So it's going to come back up again. This same whatever went down at that time, it's going to come back around and say, no, this isn't finished. There's something not right about here. I'm not clear. Something's confused about this situation. So confusion asks to be cleared up. Forgiveness and peace ask to be found, or push to be found, because this is a square aspect. So they're going to be sort of pushing. So again, apologies, forgivenesses, wanting to bury the hatchet, things like that. Those kinds of energies can come up right now. So you might have people from the past that come up and say, just don't want to have, old grudges and things like that, or they think back to connections that they've had with you and want to just change that and put things right. Maybe offer some kind of explanation, something like that. Focus returns to what is blurred and unresolved. All right. And I don't mean focus as in it's going to just sort it all out. The focus is pulling you back into that stuff. It's pulling you back into the unresolved, blurry, confused stuff, so that you can sort it out. And that's what Mercury wants to do. Mercury is the cleanup operation. It's the tidier, the organizer, the healer. It wants to go back into something and make it better and then move forward again. And this is the bit where that work gets done. This is the bit where, that we're really, really pulled back into the storyline, so we can make those adjustments and bring what is needed into what could seem like a very messy, confused, deluded, unreal, and unsettling kind of feeling of things shouldn't be like this. All right. Neptune can sometimes make us feel very unsteady, because it's kind of like, oh, the ground beneath me is sort of like, soft sand. It's shifting and changing. And that's its MO, as is Mercury to some extent as well. These mutable signs are about making shifts and changes. But obviously, when we're pulled into that energy, we can feel, oh, I'm unsteady, I'm unstable, which is where the work in the preceding days in terms of shoring up yourself is really going to come good for you. Now, if that wasn't enough, Saturday gets pretty intense. We've got some major, probably the main, there's so much going on. I can't prioritize which is more important. I'll let you be the one that decides on that. We've got Pluto over there in Capricorn, the planet that's in charge of disintegrating the current structure of our lives in order for us to rebuild them and put them back together in a better way. All right, so he's doing the deconstruction process in retrograde at the moment. And what's happening is Pluto's going to come into an opposition with Mars. That's really, really powerful stuff, particularly as Mars is not super happy in Cancer. Mars essentially is very impulsive anyway. It's prone to doing things quite hastily, quite fast, and quite rash. And in Cancer, that can really be driven by our emotions, by our feelings, which aren't always the best guide. Please don't confuse, I talked about earlier in the week using our intuition to be our guide. Please don't confuse your feelings with your intuition, because that is what I come across a lot that people do. And they do it with fear as well. Like, that's not the same as your intuition. Intuition is it's wiser and slightly more detached. If it's just, I don't feel like it, or I want, or those kinds of more base drivers, then it's not. It's just Mars being driven by your emotions, saying this is what I want, or this is what I don't want. You know, it's going to just behave on behalf of how it's feeling in that moment in time. And our feelings, like the moon, are always changing. So it's not something to make any lasting decisions on when Mars is in Cancer, because you feel like that one minute and that could well change the next. And with all this mutable energy around as well, you know, it's all about change. So let's have a look at this in terms of the notes that I've written. It's going to, I mean, that's building, you'll feel that actually on, certainly on Saturday, and even like Friday as well, starting to build. But yeah, Saturday, as we move through Saturday as well, what we'll have is the connection to the moon in Mars ruled Aries is going to then amplify this opposition aspect between Pluto and Mars by pulling our moon into it, and the moon being in a Mars ruled sign as well. So it's a very, very, very passionate landscape for sure. What I've written for you about this is what you want. Mars is what you want, Mars ruling Aries, being informed unconsciously. Pluto is really, really unconscious energy. Is what you want being informed unconsciously by coping strategies developed in times when your soul has experienced existential threat and crisis. All right, so this is where we can really witness how much we really are in control of ourselves, Mars, and what we do. Like, we all like to think, yeah, I'm the one that decides what I do. But are you really? Or is it unconscious provocations from real deeply ingrained safety behaviors? Essentially, we've all gone through crisis and trauma in this life. We've gone through crisis and trauma as a soul in different incarnations. That's my belief. You know, you may not share that one yourself. If not, then apply it to early life. But certainly, you know, my association with Pluto is the journey of the soul and how the soul evolves through each of the lifetimes that it's in. So when we think about how deep our attachment is to things that have occurred in our childhood, for example, you know, imagine how much stronger it is to other incarnations outside of this particular incarnation that we've experienced as well. And the really, really deep, powerful imprints that some of that crisis and trauma has left in our soul, you know, in our very, very soul. That stuff is going to have power over you, right? And this is you, kind of thing. This is Mars. Pluto is like Mars on steroids. It's like, it's just like super Mars. It's off the scales levels of power. So this can really, really tap us into those shadow behaviors, essentially. And it absolutely could come through interaction with other people, as oppositions often do. But it's really going to drive us with those two square aspects to the moon in rash, impulsive Aries, could drive us to be quite willful and potentially dangerous, actually, in some ways, in terms of how we interact with other people. So the questions to ask is, once we've asked this question, once we've identified, is what you are being informed unconsciously by coping strategies that have developed in times when your soul has experienced an existential threat or crisis? If you can allow space for that to be the case and think of times when you just couldn't help yourself. I just couldn't help myself. You know, Pluto is this magnetic pull towards something. You just think, I can't resist. That's the energy of Pluto. And that's how powerful it is. It's just like, it's that pull that just says, you know, I take no account for what I do because I'm not in control of myself. That's when, you know, Pluto's really, really got you. Is this helping you? That's the first question. Is it helping you, or does it manipulate and pervert your free will? Your free will is Mars. Mars is your foot soldier. It's the soldier that's waiting at your door saying, right, give me something to do. What do you want me to go out into the world and do today? All right. And you can tell it to do anything you want. That's your free will. Doesn't matter what any of the astrology is doing. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Doesn't matter what the government's doing. Doesn't matter. You have the free will to say to your Mars, yep, this is what we're going to do. That's your free will. But Pluto in a hard aspect like this is going to twist things. It's very manipulative energy, and it's going to manipulate you. This is an opportunity for you to witness how this, you know, this safety system that's been developed in previous crises is kind of manipulating you and perverting what it is that you think you want. You think you want something, but that's actually just a reaction to these underlying drivers that are actually running the show. So, you know, notice in yourself, what do I feel so powerless to resist? You know, how is it showing up? How am I, you know, quite potently really feeling something incredibly strong, particularly in terms of passion? All right, really, this is super, super passionate energy. So it's powerful desires. Witness, observe your powerful desires, and then question where they're coming from and whether or not that's actually something that you want or not. All right. It's going to be the shadow sides of what we've previously thought of as our free will being laid bare. It's very exposing energy, this kind of stuff. It's very, yeah, it's just going to strip away any bullshit, any hiding. You know, it's raw, naked truth, raw, naked, passionate, powerful truth. It all sounds really good now, doesn't it? Since Scorpio rising. But yeah, we need to face that truth, all right? And this is going to be a time when we face the shadows of ourselves and our own passions. And that will be through our interactions with other people via the opposition here, how parts of ourselves are projected into the connection or onto other people. But it's also laid bare via our attractions as well. What are we feeling pulled towards? And what's that telling us about our connection to our own sense of power? How much control do you truly have over doing what it is that you truly want when it's not being manipulated by the shadow? All right. So it's a very, very powerful day. It'll show up in lots of ways. But if you're aware of this energy, then I think that this is going to be some powerful truth that's really, really going to help don't forget, this is, you know, this is happening, as I keep saying, in the release phase of the eclipse portal. So, you know, these energies are all about sort of, let's purge something, let's really see something, let's get intimate, deeply intimate with our power, and use that information, that important piece of information, as part of our journey into our progress, with the eclipse that's coming. Sunday, the vibration obviously is still going to hang around a little bit, but thankfully the moon is going to pull out of that connection. So the Mars-Pluto thing will still be active, but the moon will move on. She moves into, actually, I've got her the wrong way around. It should be that way. She moves into Taurus. That's the sign of her exaltation. So Sunday helps us to just ground again after the flames and heat and passion and intensity of Saturday. It's going to bring us back to the 3D reality. All right, back into our bodies and out of our passion. Back, you know, with our feet firmly on the ground once more. And early, sort of as we move through the day and then early into Monday morning, you know, very early hours, she will then meet up with Uranus. And this time she is activating the square to Saturn from this side. So a slightly different flavor from when she was with Saturn. This again is the moon shining a light into our consciousness and helping us to awaken to our own higher consciousness, liberating us from the imprisonment of the past. So, I mean, the dovetailing of all of these energies and aspects that are showing up really, really is about being free from the old storylines and what's been underpinning them and driving them and giving them your energy. It's time to be done with all of that stuff so that we can reclaim it. We can reclaim the direction of our lives. And we reclaim the direction of our lives at the new moon eclipse in Gemini. The moon, you know, on Sunday in Taurus, this is the final sign before the eclipse really, really starts. You know, the eclipse essentially starts as soon as the moon moves into Gemini. So this is deep, deep, deep release. And this is, you know, when the moon's moving through Taurus, this is stubborn. You know, Taurus is stubborn energy. Taurus doesn't want to move. So this really is getting us into those stubborn pockets of resistance to change, especially as she aligns with Uranus and says, no, come on, let's really embody this and get it into every little aspect of us and get real. You know, Taurus is an earth sign. This is about getting flipping real about it, owning it, doing the work with it. Taurus, the oxen, it's got a yoke across its shoulders. It's pulling that plow. It's pulling that plow to create sustenance for its future. And so that's the cues that we need to take. Like, yeah, let's get real about doing this work now. And then when we have this beautiful new moon eclipse, this is a solar eclipse that we're coming into. It's a reset of who you are. The sun is the core vibration of who you are. This is, let's switch off the old you, switch it back on again, and let's go forward in a different way. Engage with these energies that pull us into that, and it will be so much better. Hope that was useful for you. As always, if it was, if you got some value out of this and you'd like to encourage me to keep doing it and hopefully try and reach more people with the work that I do, then please do give me a like, a love, a share, leave a comment, and do subscribe to my channel. It all helps just to nudge the algorithm in my favor or in the favor of self-development and astrology, and I think that the world can only benefit from those things. If you already have and you already do, thank you so much. I try to never miss a comment or any kind of interaction, because I want to show to you that I am deeply grateful for your support of the work that I do. It's kind of nothing really. If I just put something out there and there's nothing receiving it, it's only half the job, isn't it, really? So you're building the bridge that really makes this worth doing, and I'm really, really grateful for your support. So have a beautiful week, have a beautiful, powerful, intense time in terms of really rewriting your story to move you into a brighter future. See you next week. Lots of love. Bye for now.